going to play the music and let me go look at the encoder. And there we are. I've got a cool dude. I'm Bonnie D with Eric S. So happy to welcome him. And let's play the music and get this party started. Here we go. Can you hear that, Eric?
I can hear it.
Let's dance.
So you wanna be?
All my cool dudes know how to dance.
Yeah,
Oh my
I used to
goodness.
be able to dance.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. This is a side of Eric S. nobody has probably ever seen on live streaming. Oh, he is rocking it. Oh my goodness, he's really getting into this. Whoa, pop, 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 pop. Okay, let me lower the music and let's get started here. Lower music, and thank you to Serge Hoffman, who is a composer. He used to work for SAP. He's a composer and and a singer, and he sang my lyrics for So You Want to Be. I'm Bonnie D. Welcome. This is the spinoff from my We Dish Two Saucy Dames, and two is all in capitals, even though there are two of us. It's not a typo. You all know. I'm in Tennessee. I can say y'all. Y'all know I know how to spell. So TOO is like over the top, right, Eric S? It's
Yep. I've been
over the
accused
top.
of that. Yep, over the top. That works.
Many times. So I had the Two Saucy Dames with S on Dames, and then I decided, why am I cutting out all these wonderful human beings who are not dames? They're dudes. So I started a couple weeks ago inviting dudes, and Eric has graciously accepted my invitation. So Eric, I have dedicated to you, and we're just going to have a chat about all kinds of interesting things. I've dedicated to you an opening poem. I would like to read it and let me know what you think. Okay. It's a little bit of a synopsis of this. You sent me not just a bio, but a screenplay for the pick of your life. And I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
So here we go. You may know us well, Bonnie D and Eric S. too. We only use last name initials. Seasoned in tech. We love what we do. From LinkedIn's halls to social's embrace. Eric, show me the embrace. Come on, you got to hug social. We share insights in this savvy people space. Now on We Dish, we're here to play, lightening up life in our uniquely fresh way. Welcoming Eric S., a cool dude on a lifelong quest. We'll have a short intro here, then he'll tell us the rest. Eric's story is a life in code. Here's a short poem to Eric S., our ode. Born in Haverhill, Mass. in 66, from Newton's Fields, he took his kicks, moved to Chicago where dreams took flight. In Vernon Hills, his path grew bright. A number 2 pencil sparked his quest at Libertyville. He gave his best. In Apple II, not cars he sought, with code and keys, his skills he wrought. At Purdue, he forged a programmer's mind, then IBM, where he redefined from air traffic programs to Kodak's view, his frameworks shaped innovations new. Compete Inc. from idea on a napkin one night, built software dreams in San Francisco's light. Through ups and downs, a path he'd pave with wife Tony's love, success he would brave. Fashion in Austin, Texas, producing films with flair. Eric S. turned curiosity in businesses rare. From Girl Next Door boutique to Clearblade's IoT fame, Eric's ventures continue to carve a name. IoT and Edge, his latest role, a leader bold with a visionary goal, forever adapting, eyes ever on the prize. Eric S. codes Tech Lens Eyes.
Wow. That was amazing. That was wonderful.
Glad you liked it. Let me finish the intro. Chatting on culture, wacky news we adore, music, food, laughter, and oh, so much more. No politics here, just joy and delight. Join us live or on demand, day or night. We'll be sleeping, but you can find us on demand. Meet us for real in our live streaming glow. Eric, show us the glow. Come on, glow. Comments are welcome. Just be nice. You know who you are. You know. We Dish, Two Saucy Dame, and Cool Dude too. Bonnie D and Eric S. Dishing on life's fun. Or Vu. There's a little French I threw in.
Oh,
so you like it?
Oh, that was fantastic. That was great.
I'm glad.
Can I share that? Can I reuse that? Do I need to pay you royalties?
I wish.
What do we have to do with that?
I wish. I'm the freebie queen. Sorry.
Okay.
Listen, what we're going to do though is I'll send you the video and we'll take a clip for you. Okay.
Perfect.
A guest on my Technology Revolution show asked for the poem for him and the people he brought. It was the future of circular economy and AI. And I realized that the reading of the poem is my branding. It's what I add. It's not just words on a page. It's my brand. So I'll make a clip out of the video and I'll send you the clip. My pleasure. So here we are. Eric, I have known you off and on over the years. I don't even know how we met, but you've been a guest on my Technology Revolution show. And I was always intrigued with your picture, your headshot of you with a microphone, looking like you're about to leap off a stage somewhere,
Yeah.
excited about what you do. So, do you want to give us a 3 or 4 minute fill in of all of the key points I covered in the opening poem? Can you do that
Oh,
for us?
yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, my career's been a journey of excitement, right? I'm always searching for that new thing, something that I've always said I never wanted to be bored. And so, I'm lucky enough to have had some successes and really fortunate to have some great people around me here at Clearblade. And, we're kind of slaying giants here, right? Clearblade goes up against the Microsofts and the Amazons and the IBMs of the world, and we do pretty well. So, for some reason, people decide to follow my passion and my vision, and I tend to be very good at surrounding myself with brilliant people and let them do their thing. And that's the secret to success is just find people much smarter than you and just motivate them towards a common goal.
I agree. Why did technology grab you so much, Eric? You've been in the tech space doing various things over the years, and I'm an early woman in tech. You know the
Yep.
story. Xerox
Yep.
Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe programmer, COBOL, IBM 4341, PL1, and all that good stuff. And I
Yep.
adored it. I loved it. And it broke my heart when I had to step away from a mainframe and had to pick up this thing. Where is it? A mouse. I can't reach
Oh
it. There, I
yeah.
got a little travel and work on a Macintosh. What was that? And it was
Yeah.
almost offensive. This box and things were moving around the screen, but I had to because I went into marketing. So what was the draw for you?
Oh gosh, it was just as a kid. Like I was, believe it or not, I was a really shy, nerdy kid in middle school. Like, I mean, bullied, the whole deal. I go, sob story, blah, blah, right? But I had a great home life and everything. And really, I've found computers like the gaming and then programming just completely immersed myself in that. Like, again, I was a Dungeons and Dragons kid. I was a Apple II Plus nerd. And then I had some great friends that kind of brought me out of my shell. But I knew at a very early age that what I wanted to do, programming, because it was so magical to me, right? I could create this whole world on a computer. So I would create games for the rest of the kids in high school to play in the math resource center. And it was just my passion. So I was lucky enough to say, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's what started my career.
I don't think you were lucky. I think you were smart.
Well, it's kind of like the stories of like you go back in time to Bill Gates. It's access to the equipment, right? Like most
Hmm.
schools didn't have a DEC PDP-11 sitting in their math resource center, but Libertyville High School did. So I had access to this stuff, and I learned from the teachers and everyone else. So just having access and being able to put your hands on something that you could create, because programming for those that don't do it is really an art. It's not a
Yes,
science, it's an art
yes,
when you do it.
yes.
And so that was my creative outlet because I've always wanted to be a musician. I was in a band. I wasn't very good. I was the singer. I didn't have the confidence, but I was around great musicians at Libertyville. There's a couple of them that are famous. A guy named Tom Morello, if you've ever heard of him, from Rage Against the Machine, and
Hmm.
Adam Jones and Tool. They went to Libertyville when I was there. So I wanted to be a musician, but instead of a guitar, I found a keyboard. So that was it.
Interesting. You used two words and you put them together beautifully. You said creative, talk about programming, and art. I was introduced to programming as a young divorcee living in Eugene, Oregon, who needed to go to work for the first time in her life to support her two children. As a youngster, back in the day, I'll leave that one blank.
Yeah.
I loved math, Eric. Math led me to this. I was on the math team, the competitive math team, I think when I was in high school, Bayside High School in Queens, New York.
Mhm.
And we would travel to other schools in the city school configuration. And we would sit in a room and we would have a proctor. They would give us an example that we had to solve. And the clock started and we were on the clock to solve. And I remember the joy, the eureka of solving problems. And then, well, back to junior high school, there were so many of us who were quote unquote good in math that they sat about 50 of us in the cafeteria and gave us an award qualification exam, a test sitting in the cafeteria. And I was one of, I think, 26 who qualified. And I came in
Nice.
something like third to win a math award at graduate. This was junior high school,
Yeah.
67. This was ninth grade. It
Right.
was interesting. But as a young divorcee, I was in Eugene. Don't even ask. And my parents in New York, I grew up in New York, and my parents sent me a batch of brochures. Eric, this was before email. This was before cell
Mm-hmm.
phones. This was
Mm-hmm.
before personal computers. This is way before anything. And they sent me a stack of brochures and they said, for goodness sake, pick something. So I sifted through, X-ray technician, things where I could go. I had a bachelor's degree in psychology from combination 2 years at Sarah Lawrence when it was an old girls' school after Barbara Walters and Yoko Ono went there. And I did see Leslie Gore. It's my party in the bookstore
Wow.
one day. Yes, very famous people went there. I wasn't famous. I just went there and then finished at BU. So I looked through those brochures and I said, what am I going to do with? Okay, mom and dad, I'll figure out something. And one said computer programmer. Well, I didn't know what to do. So I called a couple friends. I said, how would I do this? They said, take two buses. I didn't have a car. Take two buses and go to the community college, Lane Community College, and see if you can get into their computer program. So I went. I took my kids to daycare. One was in junior, one was in kindergarten, one was in daycare, and I took them 3 blocks from the house, from the apartment, and I went. Eric, I went to sign up, and they told me the classes are filled. But you're going to love this. They said if you come every day, 3 days a week to the class, and you either sit or stand in the back for 2 weeks, we guarantee 80% of the people will drop out because they have no idea what computers are about. We
Yeah.
won't tell you the year. Well, it
Yeah.
worked. And in
Yeah.
2 weeks, I had a seat in that class. And
Yep.
then after that, I was fascinated. I studied Fortran and I studied assembler and I studied basic and I studied COBOL and I
Yep.
studied computer operations and we were in the computer room and a disk pack. What do we have? A thumb drive today that's about 3 inches.
Oh, yeah.
A disk pack looked like a cake carrier with a handle
Mhm.
on it. I had to step up on a step stool. I'm only I used to be 5'1". Now we don't talk about it. And drop the disk pack into this drawer that then closed and the operator would start the disk pack reading the
Yep.
data from the
Yep.
console.
Yep.
So I go back and I will tell you, I fell in love with it
Mhm.
every day. But talking about creative art, you start with a problem, blank sheet of
Yep.
paper. I would go home and write code on weekends and come in Monday morning with 2,000 lines of COBOL written on paper. And then I would key punch it in and the program would be up and running by noon on
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. It's just such a creative process. I mean, did you ever use the stencils? Right. So you do the flow with the
Yes,
stencils.
yes, flow
Yeah.
charts. Yes, I
Yeah.
still have them, and I have my COBOL handbook. But I got my directions for the pro, and then they hired me right out of school to run to be the program analyst for a community college statewide system, reporting system for the state of Oregon.
Cool.
And my manager left in 2 years, and they put me in charge of the whole program. So here I was, 2 years
Yeah.
out, about 29 years old, two kids to support, and I'm running a statewide computing
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
which was amazing. Anyway, I loved the idea of computers, but people say, "Oh, you need a lot of math." No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
You need
It's
a lot.
logic. Yeah. It's logic.
Exactly.
It's logical thinking. Yes. And
It just
once you learn the basics of logic, you can learn any language. So that's
any
yeah, and it's just it's I miss my time as just a pure programmer because it was just me and a computer and
yep,
the problems were like you could
yep,
solve a problem without needing 12 other people. Now
exactly right.
it's a little harder being a CEO of a company. You have to have other personal skills, but that has just
Yep.
continued me to broaden my skill set and get these experiences going.
Yeah, it's good to remember the roots. Now,
It is.
speaking of
It is.
roots, you're a cool dude. You have to show me that you're a cool dude. I asked you to pick a couple songs that tell us you're a cool dude, and I'll tell you how I'm a saucy dame. So, what are your songs today, Eric?
So I have five if I'm allowed to use five.
Oh, you could have 10 if you want. This is,
Okay. Well,
free
we
fall
could
here.
spend the whole hour on music because
Okay.
I'll tell a little joke. I share a Spotify list with my buddies from high school, and so I have a top 10 list. My top 10 list is 13 hours long, so it's a little more than 10 songs. So I had to pare it down for this. I picked five, for different reasons. So I've used this on your show before. First one's "Roll with the Changes," REO Speedwagon, right? And the reason for that song is just because if you're the lyrics are if you're tired of the same old story, turn some pages. I'll be here when you are ready to roll with the changes. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. Is if I'm bored, then something's got to change, right? So let's go do something new. Let's go attack a new problem. And it's also one of the best driving songs, probably the best driving song of all time. So I've got many tickets while that's playing back in the day in my CD player and others. The next one I've also used on your show. It's a song called Giant by a band called The, who I actually saw live in Chicago just a month ago at the Salt Chip. And so this one, he talks about how can anyone know me when I don't even know myself. It's got a great beat to it. And to me, it's kind of indicative to the way I think about myself. It's like, look, I'm still exploring who I am. So how can anyone else actually know who I am if I don't? So to me, it's the things that you do and how you expand your horizons, and that's what that song reminds me of.
Cool.
Next one is this one's kind of interesting. It's called "Been a Long Day" by Matchbox 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this, there's probably a psychologist out there somewhere who could talk to me, but this the line in this one is, "And I'm so terrified of no one else but me. I'm here all the time. I won't go away." And it's just, to me, it was a mantra for me. And some of the tougher times, early days at Clearblade, when we're just scraping to get by, and I didn't know how I was going to make payroll. And I would play this on my headphones from the parking lot to my office on Fifth Street in Austin, and I would just say, "Well, this is the mess that you got yourself in, right? And you're stuck with yourself, so you better find a way out, right?" This is one of my favorite songs of all time. This next one by the Talking Heads. It's the only Talking Head song that is a romantic love song. Only one they've ever done. It's called "This Must Be the Place." And this is, to me, I think of my wife and think about the people around me. But the lyrics are, "And you're standing here beside me. I love the passing of time. Never for money, always for love. Cover us and say goodnight." So to me, always for never, always for love, never for money. And that's the same thing I think about business, right? It sounds strange, but you're not in it for the money. You're in it for the journey. You're in it for the experience. You're in it for, this is how you live life, right? Not standing still. And the last one is a new artist that are relatively new. I'm late to the Maggie Rogers game. I watched a YouTube video that went viral with her and Pharrell Williams. He discovered her at NYU, and now she's an amazing artist. So she has a song called "That's Where I Am." And I'm working on a really big, stressful deal right now. And there's a line in the song that says, "It all works out in the end. Wherever you go, that's where I am." And that's what my wife says to me whenever I'm stressed, which is often. She's like, "Don't worry about it. I know you. It always works out in the end." So that's my theme song for right now. We're trying to get through this last deal.
Wonderful. And I love the energy. I'll give you a couple of mine. I have a
Sure.
couple combinations here. One is "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," Cyndi Lauper, of course, and
Love it.
"Groovin' by the Young Rascals. And that's why I do radio. That I still call this radio, but live streaming. I don't call myself a podcaster. I call myself a live streamer. Everything is live. People say, "How could you? Aren't you afraid you'll say something wrong?" Who cares?
Yeah.
Who
I
cares?
love Cyndi Lauper. Like one of my favorite songs is "Money,"
Yep.
that Cyndi did in the '80s. Right, money changes everything.
Yep. Second set pair is "She Works Hard for the Money," Donna Summer. I'm a former disco dancer, big time, and 9 to 5, Dolly Parton.
Wait. So I can't let that go. Studio 54, like disco, like you've been there.
I waited online in a
All right.
sparkled tube top and black pants and high heels many years ago. We couldn't get in. I
Yeah.
did go there once, but after I found out how drug infused it was, it really wasn't the place for me. So
I have an investor that used to go to Studio 54, and she tells me some pretty fun stories. So
I bet. The third combination is "Hit Me With Your Best Shot," Pat Benatar, and "Walking on Broken Glass," Annie Lennox. Along the way, there has been broken glass, and I didn't break the glass. Other people did, and I had to walk on it. And "Hit Me With Your Best Shot." It isn't always easy being a female in the fields I've been in, and you know that. Women in tech. It's when I was going to school, as I mentioned to you before, interesting, Eric, we had people in this class who were, I'll call us, refugees is a bad word, but I use it loosely, from different areas. I had a degree in psychology. We had somebody who had gone to law school and didn't want to be a lawyer. Somebody who gone to medical school a couple of years, didn't want to go into medicine. Somebody who was going to be an architect. We were coming from different disciplines, and but half the class was females. And some of these were single moms, a divorcee like me. We were in our 20s. We were in our 30s. This was a community college, for goodness sake. It was the best educational buck for the bargain for the buck around. But the point was that women were not excluded from tech. And then as the years went on, people said, oh, girls in tech,
Mhm.
oh, we have to have STEM and STEAM for girls and get them in. I don't know why, because it was fascinating and there were no barriers that I remembered. Next
Yep.
set is Dancing Queen by ABBA and Happy Dance. Mercy me, I was a dance teacher and a disco dancer. And oh, yeah, we had a lot of fun back in Eugene in the day. And the last one is I've had the time of my life by Bill Medley from Dirty
Mhm.
Dancing. I'm still having the time of my life. And the last one is New Attitude by Patti LaBelle. Running hot, running cold. I was running into overload. I've got a new attitude. I'm not
Yep.
sure how new it is, but Cool Dude Show is new. So there's a new
Yep.
attitude,
That's
dude.
cool.
So there you
Yeah.
go. Those are my songs. Now,
Yeah.
let's get to some of our OTT. This is off the top, fast and
Right.
furious. Your creativity superpower, how do you define it? What do you love and what do you not so much love about it, Eric?
So my superpower is, well, so I'm going to go back to music. So when I'm being truly creative, I've got to listen to music, right? When I'm coding, when I'm writing, when I'm doing anything, and it helps me focus because that's one of my challenges, right? Is I'll guarantee I've not been diagnosed, but ADD is probably a good bet for me because I see a squirrel and my mind goes boom, right? So I need music to center me, to focus me, so I can get a task done before I'm jumping into other things. So that's a superpower for me when I can really focus in on a song or an album and then really go write that article or do that spreadsheet or whatever I need to do. Um, so what I don't love about it is I love that I can multitask, but I find it really hard to stay on point, right? And when it's okay when you're like programming, that I could focus there, right? Because I'm in my box and I'm
Yes.
going, right? But
Yep.
now when you have outside, like we're all interrupt driven now. I've got Slack, right? I've got text, I've got email, I've got things popping up from LinkedIn, and I'm constantly just buzzing around. And as CEO, you've got to be kind of calm and focused and lead others. But in my squirrel brain, if I'm jumping around all the time, I need to find a way to calm myself. So that's always a challenge.
Very interesting. I was reading an article about multitasking, and they say there is no such thing. If you think you're multitasking, you're jumping from place to place and you're
Yeah,
not really getting it done. They say, and I invite you to challenge this, they say that
yeah.
women have the ability to run on multiple threads, three, four, five threads of thoughts and tasks at the same time. Men only one. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree with that. I think it's individuals. I don't think it's based on sex. I think I've seen people that can multitask. I've seen, and it's funny. I see people write articles, right, about how you're not going to be productive if you do this. Yet some of us can be, right? So I
Yes.
do I do criticize myself, but you know what? I can be productive and multitask, and sometimes it goes a little bit awry, but I can rein myself back in. And that's what you learn. You learn how you learn in college and over time, right? So you
Mhm.
learn how to control your brain. So I guess I disagree with that. I think that, it's to each his own. Like some people can thrive with that and some people
Well put.
struggle.
I
Yeah.
find it exhilarating when I have multiple challenges. For example, if something goes wrong with the streaming, which I won't name where that came
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
a program I used, but I find that it's exhilarating and it excites my brain to have multiple challenges and be able to hopefully do each one very well almost at the same time. Female, male,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't care what your gender identity is. I find that I'm a type A, obviously you are too. And by the way, everybody, I just discovered Eric and Bonnie are both Libras.
All right.
Couple, a couple of years apart, but
Yeah.
he's late September. I'm the first week of October. We'll leave the dates off. So there must be something fair and balanced. I try to be fair,
Yeah.
but definitely
Well, like
not.
I said, we also found out you share a birthday with my wife. So
Yes,
there you
I
go.
do. Well, I don't know
So
how
something
balanced I
works.
am, but I think there's something to being imbalanced. I think that's the
Yeah.
superpower. My superpower is hopefully I love talking to people. And the downside of that is that a lot of people, and I think you'll appreciate this, approach me to want to go in to do some kind of a business with me. And I get very excited and all revved up, and I say yes. They say, oh, we need a website. So I go buy the domain, and then they kind of just
Hmm.
flake off and go away. And I'm stuck with a lot of domains that have never
Yeah.
been used. And I can't figure out exactly why, but I'm enthusiastic when somebody approaches me. And none of these little side things have worked out in the past couple of years. And maybe I'm just too enthusiastic. So that could be my creativity superpower that is failing me. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, well, again, it is, and I think it's all depends on how you work. And I'll add one thing to what I said, right?
Yeah.
Just talking personally, I think my superpower is I don't play status ever. Like everybody's equal in
Hmm.
my eyes. So from the intern that just started at Clearblade, right, to the highest level exec. Like so, I never liked the hierarchy status game. So it's why I didn't. I mean, nothing against IBM; they gave me a great career, but I don't do big corporations very well. And I've kept that over the years. And I find it when you can have an honest conversation with someone in their 20s and you put your head back into that person that when Eric was
Hmm.
20 and remember what it was like. And they're always kind of amazed, like, wow, you're just kind of down the earth. I'm like, well, we're all trying to get stuff done together. So let's find the best way to do that.
I agree.
So, and that helps with teamwork, right? Everyone then is part of the same team, and it works for a company, at least at this size,
Yep.
very well.
Yep. Well, the background you see here, I created the face in my favorite AI art program is called Night Cafe Studio. I don't use Midjourney. Night Cafe is very user friendly and very, shall we say, cost effective. And then I go to Photoshop and I duplicate everything and then I add the titles. Well, at some point, somebody asked me for an idea for the logo of the business we were starting. And I went into Night Cafe and I created just a sketch basically of it was going to be a publishing company. And I created a library shelf with some Zentangle curly cues on the ends and a couple books. And I sent this to him. He basically opened up the cannons and shot huge bullets at me and said to me, "You are a horrible human being. You have destroyed all trust I have in you. I will never talk to you again. I'm out of the project. How dare you use AI?" And I said, "But I was asked for an idea. I'm not an artist. You're the artist. And I was just showing you a concept." Well, he let go on me that was just unbelievable. And he said, this will never happen. We will never cross paths again. And he dropped out. And the person who had brought him into the project lost their interest at that point, even though that person was already using ChatGPT. I got lambasted because I was the girl on the team and the boys were playing in their own field. So it was interesting. And I'm just finding that there's a great divide right now on using AI or not. And we don't have to get into that, but I,
Oh,
I just
I've got a lot of opinions on that. Well, that's for another show
I
probably.
bet
But
you do. I bet you do.
I think you got to embrace AI, but let's pump the brakes on some aspects of AI. But that's
Absolutely,
different.
absolutely. And I think it was harmless what I did and nobody got
I do
hurt.
too.
It
I
was
do too.
just silly. So, next
Yep.
topic.
All right.
Coffee or tea, brewed or instant, quantity, quality, cup or mug or whatever. What do you like to drink and how do you
Uh,
have it?
it's coffee brewed, in their Keurig, usually 2 cups in, a Starbucks mug. And I pick the city or state or country that we've got like 700 of them in our cabinet. So my wife gets one every time we go. So I kind of I go, do I want to be in Italy this morning? Do I want to be in France? So it's nice.
I love it. That's really, really cool. Obviously, you're okay with caffeine. I can't do caffeine anymore. If you give me a cup of anything with caffeine, you'll be peeling me off the ceiling about 10 minutes later. And I'm sad about that because my son-in-law makes the best cappuccino and he drizzles the foam on top and makes hearts and all that. I can't do that anymore. I have this knack of taking peppermint tea, a tea bag, which the
Mhm.
Brits they call it dusty tea. They don't like the way Americans brew tea. And I will take a mug. I have a Bonnie mug with what my name means, that fun stuff. And I'll
Yeah.
put it in the microwave with filtered water from the fridge, and then I'll get it almost to boiling, and I'll put the tea bag in, and I'll cook it for another 30 or 40 seconds, and then I'll take it out, and I can keep that going. I'll drink it hot, and then when it's about halfway done, if I lose interest, I'll let it cool to room temperature. I will put it in the fridge, fill it up with more water, and keep that tea bag in that water going for a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
So I get cool, cold tea, no sweetener, no lemon, nothing. And it's just a refreshing way to have peppermint flavored water. So there you go. So that's my
Nice.
preference. So
Nice.
here we go. And I do keep a Keurig and an espresso for company if they want it. I keep it in the garage. So a big garage. Okay. Holiday shopping for yourself, for others. Brick and mortar versus online. Do you shop by what you think somebody wants? Do you go to wish list? Do you give e-gift cards? And are you a good wrapper? And I don't mean,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, do you know how to wrap a present? So Eric, what's your holiday preferences here? What are
so
they?
nowadays it's all online. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll admit that I do miss the days of going to the store, going to find something. When my
Yes.
kids were little, it was great to bring the boys and go get mom stuff, right? Now my kids are big, so that it's just hard to even find them. But now I get lists. My wife is great at this because she'll give me lists of all the things that she wants. And my boys will give me lists. One of them's a musician. I'll get all these expensive, speakers and guitars and synthesizers, and then my other one's a hockey player, so I'll get hockey gear. So it makes it easy. And online is just it's easier because you get what you want, you can return it, and you can get so much done so quick. But I do miss the old school way of doing it. And every now and then the boys and I will get together and we'll go, hey, let's just go to the old school mall and just go find something. Um, as far as rapping, I used to be very good when I was younger. Nowadays, I have no patience for it, so I don't take the time. So I'm a quick rapper, but it's not the cleanest look in the world. So if I
Do
take
you,
my time, I can get it really good.
do you remember when you go to a department store and they had a gift wrapping
Mhm,
center or a desk, and
mhm.
somebody who was probably a college student looking for holiday money, they would give you an example of you can have the store wrap, which had the store name and logo on it, or you could go up to a $2 version or a $5 version, and you pick the bow and the ribbon, and it kept going up. Sometimes the wrapping cost more than the present.
No, totally.
And
Yep.
they knew how to take the roller off the wall, this bolt, the 20 pounds of paper. They knew how much. They looked at the gift and they said, here, and they put it on and they centered it just right. And then they made the triangles and they used just the right amount of tape and the ribbon. And you came home and you said, this is so beautiful. Maybe I'll just look at it for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
That was another day.
No, I used to go to Marshall Fields in Vernon Hills, right? My mom worked at the Estee Lauder counter, so I'd get lots of
Mhm.
um, free perfume for all my non-dates because I was a computer nerd. But I had lots of perfume if I needed it. But yeah, so that was magical, right? You can go and get that all done.
Yep. I don't like gift wish lists. My granddaughters who are both in graduate school have their wish lists, and I don't like it because to me it's too much of an intrusion on seeing what their life is all about. I believe in more privacy, so I give an Amazon e-gift card, and I like the e-cards because they're delivered in 5 minutes. You get a receipt when they open it, and sometimes I'll say to them, "Would you take a picture of what you buy and send me the picture?"
Yeah,
So
that's
that
perfect.
that does it. And my son just asked me I buy him he subscribes to video games. He's a CEO, travels around, and
Hmm.
I'm sorry, he's a general counsel. He's not a CEO.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer. And he asked me there's a magician, I can't remember the name. It might be Ladane. I'll find it, who has
Mhm.
a book on, it's called something Deception. It's a very expensive book. There were only five left on Amazon, and I bought it for him yesterday. He said that's all he
Nice.
wanted. And he's so intrigued by this magician. I said, okay, I'll get you that for Hanukkah. So that was it. And
Cool.
my daughter, I'll just give an e-card to, and there you go. She's a doctor, and I'll just let her pick whatever she wants. So that's
Nice.
it. But I did enjoy wrapping, and I'll tell you, there's a quick trick. If you're ever out of ribbon to curly Q on top of a
Mhm.
gift, Eric, there's a trick. You take the wrapping paper and you cut a rectangle about so big, and you hold it with your hand on the bottom about 2 inches, and then you cut into it 1 inch apart, and you
Mhm.
make these strips. You don't separate them, you don't tear them. You take the blunt edge of a scissors and you roll
Roll
it
it.
against them so that they become like ribbon. And
Hmm.
then when they're done, they'll be very tight, like a tight curl. You pull them out, each one, and you carefully cut into them so that they're about a quarter of an inch in width. That
Hmm.
leaves you with this base of about 2 inches of paper that you can then fold and attach to a gift, and then spread the little curly things out, which makes ribbon that matches the wrapping paper.
Oh, I may give that a shot this year. I used to curl the ribbon with the scissors. My mom taught me that when I was little because you get
Mm-hmm.
straight ribbon, you make it curly.
Yep.
So
Yep.
maybe, maybe
Well,
I'll
this
take some time this year and at least do one.
if the
That's
paper is very
perfect.
thin, be careful because
Yeah.
you could trip it and you could pull it. So
Right.
if it's good quality paper, it will work, and it's beautiful because you see the theme of the paper on the ribbon, so to speak, on the bow. So that's fun. Somebody taught me that many years ago.
Cool.
Next topic: movies, TV genre preferences, drama, fantasy, musical, romance, mystery, comedy, sci-fi, thriller, war. And do you have some favorite actors or actresses you want to tell us
Yeah.
about? Go ahead.
So all genres, right? I mean, I love. So I'll bend towards sci-fi because I'm that guy that like grew up with Star Wars and the whole deal. But what I like is I like movies that surprise me, that take a turn that I totally did not expect. Because I know I'll watch a movie and my wife will get mad at me because something I've not seen before. I said, oh, I know what's going to happen next, and it happens, and so then I'm not really entertained. Um, so I'll add this little piece of criticism. Like today's world, like I'm kind of tired of everything being action superhero everything. Like I love the first Batman. Like I like those movies, but now it's like so over the top. It's everything, and I know that's what makes the money. I get it, but I miss movies like the Big Chill, for
Hmm.
example. Like you don't see movies like this anymore. So I'll name a few. Big Chill was one of my favorite movies. William Hurt in that, right? It was. I remember seeing it when I was in college, and it was kind of a story about college friends years later and what how life get kind of hard, right? Um, One of my all-time favorites is a very Chicago movie called Thief with James Caan,
Mm.
who's one of my favorite actors of all time, and it's set in Chicago. Willie Nelson is in this movie. He's
Ooh.
fantastic in it. He plays a friend who's in prison. If you ever get the chance to watch it, I think it's like 1981. The soundtracks from Tangerine Dream, if you ever hear of
Ooh.
them, so it's
Okay.
it's fantastic. Another one of my all-time favorite movies, An American Werewolf in London. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, early 80s classic. Talk about a movie that surprised you. That thing was horror, that thing was comedy, it was science fiction, it was everything all rolled into one at the same time. It was a love story, right? Um, Valley Girl. Again, you're going to see a theme. It's all early 80s stuff. It's probably where it's most impressionable. But just Nicolas Cage and Deborah Foreman in that movie. I've seen that. I've watched that movie over and over and over, and it's just a great story. Um, of course, I got to mention Alien with Sigourney Weaver. That was blew me away. Just the special effects and the horror of it. And I'll add two more: Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks, fantastic movie, and American History X with Edward Norton, which is a really good film.
Oh my. Well, I don't watch movies anymore. I like on demand. I like to watch binge series, and I'm into French detective shows, which I'm sure you wouldn't please you at all. But interestingly enough, the lead in these shows tend to be women who are quirky, who are independent, who break some of the rules of being in France. It's an investigative judge, la juge à la femme,
Mhm.
Alice Nevers, Candice Renoir. These are all quirky women who have a way of solving crimes that's unbelievable. Murder Inn is a series that takes place in different beautiful locales in France, and they're about 90 minutes. I just finished watching Ted Danson in Man on the Inside, which
All
starts
right.
out as a comedy and then gets very heavy. I cried. It's about 8 episodes. I just finished season 1 of The Marlowe Murder Club, which
Mhm.
is delightful. And the ending, you will not believe it's only 4 episodes. It's PBS. What else did I watch? So I like more quirky, not too gory.
Mhm.
Sci-fi, definitely not my thing. And I can't do the Hallmark romance
Don't.
Christmas movies because I'll cry. But
Yeah.
Hallmark did a series of amateur detective shows where I think Brooke Shields was owned a flower shop or a bakery, and
Mhm.
these are females who just decide to start becoming investigators. There's a show
Mhm.
called Whitstable Pearl about a woman who owns I don't know, it's in where is it? New Zealand, I think. They have a slight accent, but they speak English. And she and her mother own a bar restaurant, and she decides to become an adjunct to the local police. She has a thing with one of the policemen, the detectives, and she solves mysteries in ways
Nice.
that the police never figured out how to. So I like those kinds of things, but
Yeah,
holiday movies just can't. And I
right.
might watch White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, and I think Vera Ellen was in it. The two
Mhm.
sisters and the two guys in the military. It just was pageantry, and I love the
Yeah,
dancing and the singing. So that's
yeah.
it. So that's it for our ITT. And now let's go to our wacky say what. And we used to call it wacky headlines, Eric. And
Mhm.
then you may know Martin Stenzig, who is he was he was my first cool dude. And I was talking to him on the show, and I was saying wacky headlines, and somehow
Mhm.
it slipped out of either my mouth or his. Say what? So and now I called him say what news. So that's what we're gonna do. You can't translate that,
Yeah,
trust me. So
yeah.
Eric, why don't you do one and then I'll do one? And
Okay.
do you need to share the screen? Because I have screen
Uh,
sharing on if you want it.
no, I think it's all right. I think, the visuals are just okay on this, but
Okay,
some
go
of them,
ahead.
they're interesting. So one story that came up a few weeks ago, hackers demand France's Schneider Electric pay 125,000 ransom in baguettes. So they hacked into their 40 gigs of data, I guess. But as a joke, they said, "Hey, look, you need to pay us in baguettes." So that to me is like I had to read that article once I saw the headline, and it's true.
That is amazing. So
Yeah.
what bakery did they
I
expect was
don't,
going to
you know,
be?
I don't know. I don't know if they paid, if they actually paid them in baguettes or what the end story was, but yeah, I don't know how it ended. It said that Schneider Electric's products and services remain unaffected, and they said they're investigating it, but they were told to pay them in baguettes. So I think even hackers have a sense of humor.
That sounds like they're hungry. I'm going to share my screen for this first one. I picked this with
Right.
you in mind. Japan has a conveyor belt road that they're going to be testing soon. Thought you'd be interested in that. And it's Japan has been busy in the efficient commuting industry. Authorities are outlining plans to raise the bar on cutting edge transport with a conveyor belt road. Here we go.
Cool.
Planners envision the road will stretch 320 miles, Eric, from Tokyo to Osaka and transport containers between the two cities. It will check off a few boxes, including meeting the rising demand for delivery services, curbing carbon emissions,
Mhm.
sustainability, climate change, and alleviating pressure on the drivers amid an ongoing labor shortage. This is reported in The Guardian. It's estimated that if expanded nationwide, it could do the work, well, I don't know about this one, of 25,000 truck drivers a day. Interesting, it will use 24-hour automated and unmanned transportation system. Test runs are slated to begin in 2027 or 2028. What do you think of that?
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I
Um,
picked that for you. I thought you'd like
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
what's your next one?
All right. Well, um, there is well, okay, so I'm allowed to say this. I checked it with you.
You
So
can.
there's a new word that's officially the biggest word of the year, and it's called enshittification. Spell it like you hear it: ENSHITTFIFICATION. And so what that means is it's the rage you feel when you deal with every single piece of tech in your life. It's caused by enshittification, and the dictionaries are taking notice. So basically, here's the explanation. We've all felt this. Google search is filled with garbage. The internet is clogged with SEO farming websites that clog up results. Facebook is an endless stream of AI generated slop, right? Zoom wants you to test out, sorry, Zoom, we're on you now, test out its new AI features when you're trying to just go into a meeting, right? You're being inundated with all this stuff. Twitter has become X, and sharing links that are a waste of time. And so a lot of this is this AI generated push, which I look, I think AI is fascinating, but now it's being shoved into our faces through everything.
Mhm.
So whenever you feel overwhelmed, you just say, I'm dealing with enshittification in my life.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you asked me first. I'm
Yes.
going to share another picture, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. Somebody was interested in finding out who inspired the wizard in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz, and they actually found a real person who might have been the inspiration. Not a happy story. In the second edition of the annotated Wizard of Oz, published a century later after 1900, literary scholar Michael Patrick Hearn suggests that Baum used a man named Washington Harrison Donaldson, that's a lot of ONs in that name, Eric, as a blueprint for the elusive wizard. He was a magician, a ventriloquist, and a balloonist, even worked with P.T. Barnum, the circus master. More tragically, he was like Baum's wonderful wizard in that one day he floated off on a hot air balloon, never to be seen again. Joined by a reporter, he took his final known voyage on July 15th, 1875. You'll appreciate this, lifting
Yep.
off from Chicago, Eric.
Hmm.
That's why I knew this was for you, over Lake
Yeah.
Michigan. A storm hit, and while the deceased reporter eventually washed up on shore, Donaldson and his balloon remain a mystery. Interesting?
Interesting. So you could believe that he became the Wizard of Oz, like he just
He
floated
could
away. And
could have been.
yeah.
So what's your third story?
All right. I think I can show something on this one.
Yep, use the
Yeah.
share.
Okay. Perfect. So this you inspired me to kind of switch gears in this
Okay.
one. So have so this is a story, but there's hundreds of stories about this place, but I recently learned about it. It's a city in Saudi Arabia called Neom. Have you heard of this?
No, no.
So they are building the city, and one of the key aspects of the city is this area called the Line, which
Yeah.
is a mile plus long, futuristic living area city where you don't need vehicles. Everything is mapped out in different communities, and it's all super um, uh, uh, efficient in terms of use of water and energy and so forth. And this is being built as we speak, right? So this is supposed to debut sometime in 2030. Though, yeah, I think the dates keep moving. And the reason I bring this up is we actually got introduced to this project recently by one of our partners, and maybe part of the technology behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the future of urban living. It's a cognitive city stretching 170 kilometers from the epic mountains of Neom across inspirational desert valleys to the beautiful Red Sea. So this is all done by the Saudis, and it's a mirrored architectural masterpiece towering 500 meters above sea level. And it's something to watch because my team talked with them a couple of weeks ago, and it's a fascinating. It's something like out of Westworld, right?
Yeah.
And you see this thing. So this is actually being built.
Eric, what is a cognitive city?
So smart city. So basically a city that's connected
Mm-hmm.
to everything that you do. So you have everything at your fingertips. We've been trying to do this for decades, and I think we've
Mm-hmm.
had very limited success up to this point. But now, you're going to share the data. You're going to be eco-friendly. We're again, no vehicles is the one that kind of blows my mind. Is it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be walkable everywhere.
I like
Um,
that. I like that.
and they're building it out of the desert, right, where there's nothing. So they're basically taking desert and turning it into this futuristic city, and it's a way for the Saudi economy to kind of move away from oil and move into
Mm-hmm.
tourism and move into other things. So it's a fascinating project to watch over the next decade or two to see how it evolves. And by the way, do you know
Absolutely.
that Japanese gentleman there? That's Mikio Kaku. He's a futurist.
I thought I recognized him. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
known the name exactly, but he looked familiar. Interesting and futurist. I got to get him on my Technology Revolution
Yeah,
radio show.
he signed a book for me once, so he's a pretty fascinating dude.
Okay, get him for me for the
Yeah,
show.
I don't know if I have that much clout with him. I was just in line with a pen, but I'll try.
Okay, when you stop sharing, I'll show my
Okay.
third one. Oh, that was
Okay.
great. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Cognitive City, that's interesting. My Zoom has gone to full screen now, and you are on top. There we go. We got it back. Okay, let me go get my third one here, and this one is very appropriate for our topic we just talked about a moment ago. Where's my, wait a minute, I don't have my share, but there we go. Okay, everything moved. Here we go. All right, desktop, number one, share. Okay. Eric, have you ever heard of returnless refunds? Hmm?
no, no.
Well, you need to. The retailers are not talking about it, but they say keep it. In a survey, nearly 60% of retailers, and I don't know who the survey, what the pool was, who were surveyed, said they had policies that refund customers for items that are not financially viable to send back. And here's the deal. I'll skip. You can see the graphic, which is interesting. 59% of retailers have keep it policies for items that aren't financially viable, according to a survey. Here you go, by GoTRG, now called Return Pro. It helps retailers, including Walmart, I'm not sure why they mentioned that, manage returns. Sometimes called returnless refunds, they're a response to a problem as old as e-commerce. How to limit the flood of online return. And I've done shows called "The Future of Retail: Many Happy Returns?" question mark, which are
Mhm.
time consuming and expensive. One estimate last year from the NRF National Retail Federation showed that for every $1 billion in sales, the average retailer sustained $145 million in
Wow.
returns.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Returns are a loss leader, said the CEO of Return Pro. Online retailers are most likely to offer keep it returns on low priced items where putting it back into the supply chain just doesn't pay because of the shipping expenses and the labor, and they got to put it
Right.
back on the shelf and they got
Right.
to
They
look
get
at
a
it.
discount, right? And the whole deal.
Unbelievable. 64% of items eligible cost between under $20 and 83% were under $30. But in a survey, here's the key. 52% of retailers offering keep it returns were adding stricter criteria, and they have the customer trustworthiness algorithm. Remember when you go to Macy's or somebody when they buy a toaster and they return it 2 weeks later, and then they buy another toaster when they kept track of those people, Eric, people who were bracketing, ordering the same clothing in various sizes to return those who what didn't fit, those that didn't fit, and wardrobing, buying something for a party with the intention of
Mhm.
returning it anyway, and people who just keep buying stuff and then just keep returning it. Okay, so that was the article. So I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting
Yeah,
that
I owned a clothing store with my wife, and
yes,
we had
girl
to
next
deal with
door.
that. Oh, yep. And you had people that did that, whatever the one where you go wear it to an event and return it, and they'd keep the tag on it, and you'd see like there'd be stains on it, and we'd like, you wore this anyway. That's a past life my wife had to deal with, and I would just sit in the back, want to come out and argue it, and I said, it's not my job.
Not your job. So they're finally getting smart and they're saying, so the point is how many people will figure out what items are returnless
Yeah.
and they'll say, oh, I recently ordered a couple of tablecloths, outdoor tablecloths. I have a large deck attached to my house and the tablecloths were from the previous owner and they were just kind of dingy and it's a covered deck, full length of the back of the house, but it's not enclosed. And they were getting grungy and they were green and brown. And you know my colors, Eric, you know. So I ordered two red ones. Well, they didn't appear. And according to the tracking, they were delivered on Sunday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning to the local Loudon, Tennessee post office. Well, I waited a week. I never got them. I talked to a mailman. He said, Lady, I can't do this. He dialed some number and he got some woman and she said, I can't answer this on the phone. Tell her to call the main number. So I called the main number, which is set up to ring 14 times and then go to drop your call. So I did that about 12 times. I finally got somebody and they said, Lady, this is not post office tracking. This is Amazon tracking. We never got it. It never arrived here. So I reordered on Amazon and they said, listen to this. If the original package arrives, you have to return that and let us know. You can't keep the original now that we've resent it. I thought that was very
Hmm.
interesting. So it never showed up. And the
Never showed.
tablecloth, they're beautiful and they're red and they're getting a little grungy, but it's better than the old green and brown. So
Yeah.
Eric, any closing words? We've been going about 45 minutes or so.
Oh,
This is a wonderful conversation.
yeah.
I want to know, would you come back and do a part two
Of
with me,
course, of course.
please?
This is always fun, right? I learn a
Wonderful.
lot about, you. I learn a lot about myself. It's just fun to share, right? Be
Thank you.
open, and you never know where it goes. And
Well,
you're excellent in guiding me into wherever we
oh,
need to
you're
go.
sweet. I received an email from somebody who is on LinkedIn recently. He sent it to a lot of people, not just me. And he said, personal stuff doesn't belong on LinkedIn. It's just a business site, and we shouldn't be doing any of that. We don't want to know about what you did in Thanksgiving, and we don't want to know what your hobbies are. And I thought, well, this is about the time I started Two Saucy Dames and Too Cool Dude. And I thought, we're talking for years, and you understand this. You and your wife both appreciate it as business people. It's about relationships. It's about who are you? What might we have in common? What could we have in common? What do we have in terms of goals and relevance that we could be part of each other's lives, even if it's just I have a dress for you, or I have a coffee maker for you,
Yeah,
or hey, I'll teach you how to use wrapping paper for his ribbon,
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. And I think that's part of rounding out the experience of knowing who we're dealing
Yeah,
with
well,
on
and
LinkedIn.
people enjoy a backstory, like the real human
Yeah,
side of business. It's not just, I mean, it's not just all profit and loss and numbers. There's people behind it, and when you get to know the company and the people, then you get to know what they're about. And I think every business has a personality, so
I
it's nice to
agree.
share some of that.
I
Yeah.
agree. And when I ask people on my shows, my other shows, for an origin story bio, Most of them are perplexed because they're used to the 9 sentence CV style media pitch bio. And I sometimes have to pull it out of them with a bunch of questions and I help them write their own origin story bio,
Yeah,
which is a lot of fun. Somebody said I should start billing myself as a life coach because I'm our
you
bio
should.
coach, maybe
You
a bio
should.
coach because I do a lot of that work. But Eric, you are a surprise. You are a delight. You are a fascinating human being. I'm flattered. I'm
Oh.
honored that you accepted my invitation and took a chance on our conversation.
Well, I'm appreciative that you asked me, and we found out we had a lot in common on the programming side, sharing email stories back and forth and
Yeah.
our origin story. So that was great.
And who is Danielle? She's been on all of our threads. Who is
Yeah.
Danielle?
Danielle is my marketing person here at Clearblade. So she keeps me honest, making sure I answer things, and then she takes all this content and will reuse it in very interesting ways.
Well, it was lovely. And she was on that thread and she said she was enjoying seeing us go back and forth on green bar paper and
Yeah,
all that. By the way, I am a drummer too. And I was drumming in a band called the Still Kick. I hated the name in Durham, North Carolina, in a place called Carolina Arbors. And I was the drummer and MC for a 12-piece Motown band.
that's
And I
cool.
had my own Latin band called Blueberry Jam because I lived on Bloomsbury Manor
Yeah.
Drive.
Well, and
So
I learned through watching this episode with one of your other guests that you did it through School of Rock, which
oh
is
yeah. Oh
which
yeah.
is how my son got started in Austin, Texas, and now he's going to school for music. He just released his first album on Spotify. It's thrash metal, so it's not quite the holiday track, but it's just to me that's a wonderful program. So a little bit of plug for School of Rock because
I loved
it
it.
my
I
son was introverted in the whole deal, and he's now kind of a pseudo rock star in my mind. He is.
well, if you think he qualifies to be a cool dude with me,
He's a
send him
cool dude.
send
Yeah,
him
yeah,
my
yeah.
way.
All
Send him
right, I'll
my
talk
way.
to him.
So I'm going to put on the music now and we're going to phase out here and just we're
Right?
going to dance a little. I just love I didn't know Eric Simone could dance like this. Yes, that's his real name, everybody. You already knew
Yes,
that.
yes.
Let me put the music on and let's just play a little bit here. Let me go back to the beginning. Scroll back. There we go. And here we go. Whoa, that's booming. Thank you to Serge Hoffman for singing and composing the music for my lyrics. I wrote the song.
All right.
Here we go. Here's the drum roll. Here's the bridge.
All right.
Okay. Bonnie D and Eric S saying happy holidays to all. And I'll be back soon with another Two Saucy Dames Friday with Sherry M. And then we'll have